welcome to another episode of That Grief Relief Podcast. My name is Katie Overy, and as you can tell, we're already having lots of fun on the podcast. We're having a few connection issues, and anyway, let's just get on with it. Today's guest is via Zoom because she might be one of the busiest people in Dubai. I'm joined by Candy, and I've written it down, Fanucci, if I got that right.
Almost. It's Fanucci, like Foxtrot. Fanucci, Fanucci.
See, I even wrote it down wrong.
Yes.
So, Candy Fanucci, founder of Pirate Surf Rescue. Now, you are what seems to be a pretty, well-renowned, famous mini hero in the UAE. In fact, I don't even know why I said mini. You're not even a hero. You're a local hero of the UAE. So, firstly, tell me, Candy, all about Pirate Surf Rescue.
Well, Pirate Surf Rescue started 11 years ago as something that was really small. I was coaching swimming at the time. I lost to swim companies, and I absolutely love the beach. I love the sea, and I saw there was such a need for it. So anyhow, we managed to get little spots on the beach. Kite Beach was just sand, and it had a little CID tower and a volleyball court. And I thought, this will be absolutely perfect. So I used to go every day and check to see if I would see somebody. And eventually I saw one chap watering the cleaning the area. And I managed to speak to him, who spoke to his boss, who then allowed us to build this little gym on there. And after that, I said, no, I'm going to start. I just love kids. I love working with kids. It's the most rewarding job on this earth. So I thought I'm going to combine what I've done before and start the Surf and Sea Rescue Club, which is commonly known as Nippers, in Australia, New Zealand, and South Africa. But I thought I'm going to do a Nippers on steroids for Dubai and just, make it into my own program and use the lessons and the things I've learned in life and just really zoom it up. So yeah, that's how it started. And we started with must have been about 9 kids, 3 of which were my own. I just forced them, you will come and you will train. And then it just built from there. And as I said, we now up to 400 kids in the program and over 2,000 on the wait list. So it's building, and it's, we're very organic. I don't do any advertising or marketing. It's purely through word of mouth and through, other people Instagramming and that kind of thing.
That's absolutely
that's how it started.
Incredible. And like we said just before I hit record, I know of you through the mothership, Helen Farmer,
Yes.
the be all and end all. It's so funny. I don't even have children, but yet to me, Helen is like the be all and end all of everything. Sometimes she'll post
amazing.
something. I'm like, should I buy that? You don't have children. I know, but Helen says it's good, so it must be great. So I work with Helen.
Honestly, she's the real
well.
deal. She's the real deal, and she is, what she says she is, and she's just returned with us from the Maldives. And even the youngest kids just love being around her. She's just great. From the parents, when she talks to you, she really talks to you. She's not listening about what's going on around you, and she's just incredible. Honestly, I adore her. I really do. And I didn't know her before, her little ones joined. So it's been such a pleasure having them as well.
Oh, that's so nice. And I love the idea of the program. It's fantastic. And it was actually via kind of the Pirate Surf Instagram that, I reached out to you to come onto the podcast, because a few people had actually flagged it to me because of the loss that you've suffered in your life, which is just heartbreaking. And you very kindly said that you would speak to me about it. And here we are, because it's so interesting how you then took all of that, how you then took that strength to then move forward. So Candy, if you can tell me, where on earth do you begin? But if you can tell me your story, I'd be really grateful.
No, only a pleasure. And as I say, what I do is to help other people out. I'm not trained, and that's why I've never given counseling or anything. We've just all got a story to tell. And, suffering loss is so different, and it's so individual for every single one of you. And how you treat it and how you deal with it again is just so different. So when I was 9, my dad passed away of cancer. The fittest, strongest human being on this planet, ran every day, and from one day, literally 6 weeks later, he was dead. So I think that was that was real knock, because I was a daddy's girl. I mean, my mom
Really?
wanted a little ballet dancer, and I came out a running thug, literally Tarzan in the making, swinging from trees. And she was a beautician and skin specialist. So of course I came out the opposite. When she put on a dress, it was ripped off, and there was like no shoes and PT shorts. So that was it was a tough one. And I think I've dealt with grief as a child, as a teenager, and as an adult. So you just see them and, from different aspects. Again, I'm not to blame anybody or anything like that. I think it was a huge loss for my mom at the time. And I think because, her and my dad were soulmates, they were so incredibly close. So having that taken away was a massive knock for her as well. And she withdrew very much into herself. And even as a child, I used to remember seeing her on a rocking chair listening to Barbra Streisand every single night. And still to this day, I cannot hear it. If I hear Barbra Streisand, I will make a beeline and switch it off. And then
for
she
what
makes
reason? Does it make you sad? Does it bring back memories you don't want to bring back?
I think it associates with that very difficult time where suddenly the house was dead. It was because my dad was so full of energy, and he was always had the music on, and he was taking me running. And, we had such a busy lifestyle. And suddenly it's like someone switched the lights off. It's gone quiet. So it was a real change of lifestyle, for her. And she met up with a old school friend, and he kind of pulled her through, I think, that time. But for me, it was, oh my God, someone's trying to take my dad's place, which was, as I say, which really actually impacted my relationship with my mom still today. I think there was a lot that I felt I had, when you're grieving, it's your surroundings that can actually dictate how you pull through. When you're a bit older, I believe you dictate how you pull through. So then a couple of years later, she met with my stepdad, who I can't even describe him to you. He was just the most incredible, beautiful human being. He was 6'4", these piercing blue eyes. He had nothing. He lived on a game farm in the middle of nowhere. He was the most unmaterialistic human being ever, but just lived for life. So of course, going, and I just absolutely fell in love with him. And he didn't have any kids at the time. So I became like his adopted child. And I had a brother who was 2 years older than me. So he, growing up on the farm, and I think our characters just mixed. It was whether someone upstairs and God had said, right, I'm going to put those two together, because what I went through there has really impacted and shaped who I am today. Being on the farm, we were just in the wilderness, and we were in the bush, and we were catching animals and rhinos. And, he just trusted me with everything. I was hanging off pens, darting zebras and injecting them. And, I was 15, 16 at the time. So, everything he did, and every day I can remember clearly being so incredibly thankful. And I questioned it even as a 16-year-old, thinking, why have I been so lucky to live where I am and to experience the life and what have I done to have this? And even at the time, my mom and I still never got our relationship back. We were never close. So going through those horrible teenage years that every child goes through, I would lean on him all the time.
Interesting.
And then obviously had never had kids. So him and my mom had a child together, who was literally a thumbprint of Pete. So they were absolutely identical. But my mom was 42 at the time when she had PJ. So I think it was a huge knock on the system. But anyhow, so we lived on, as I said, it was a farm owned by some government, very high investor. And all the government officials used to come and spend the weekend on the farm. And we had just come through the tip of Africa with a whole lot of sable antelope, which are obviously like an endangered species. So my dad went right through the night after night, getting them back to the farm as quickly as possible so we could offload them into the pens, and then we could work with them on conservation projects. And when he got back, my mom said, look, the Minister of Foreign Affairs is coming. Please just go and check to see the camp and everything is okay. And he was so tired. And the camp was like at the bottom of the little, like a mountainside or a valley.
Okay. Whereabouts in
And
South Africa is
anyhow,
this,
so
sorry?
it's in the Eastern Transvaal. It's a place called Sabaka, which means the rock. And actually, Pete means the place. So it was really apt.
How funny.
And anyhow, in the middle of the night, the minister decided he wanted to go hunting. And my dad said, look, I really need to go to sleep. I haven't slept at all. No, 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 no. We'd only cull like the really old animals because it was purely for conservation. And on the way down, he actually fell asleep and the front of the Land Cruiser hit a rock and flipped over and landed on his chest and obviously killed him. And I remember that night like it was yesterday, honestly and truly. I can recall every single moment. And the chef and the minister actually came to our house and they were knocking on the door and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. And I had my little brother in my bed and my mum opened, it was like a long passage door and he kept on saying, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And I, what's going on? And then I heard what had happened. And I literally felt like, even talking about it now, I felt like the blood just go from my face. And I thought, no ways, it's not possible. And my elder brother was there. And, I just said to him, Pete's gone, Pete's dead. He's killed in a car accident. And he said, no, 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 he's not. Don't worry, he's okay. And I went to my mom and I said, look, don't worry, he'll be fine. He's gone to hospital, he'll be okay. And he had an office where he always used to put his feet up on the office in one of his, and that obviously the VIPs were all inside there. And I remember just absolutely walking and seeing one of the managers' faces, and he just said, I'm so sorry. And I just collapsed. And, it was just, I kept on thinking, no, he is coming back. I was convinced he was coming home. And I ran to his cupboard and I said, no, his toothbrush is there. His clothes are on the floor. He's coming back. There's no doubt he's on his way back. He'll be back tonight. So, even the day of his funeral, when they brought the coffin in, and we actually buried him on the farm, on the most beautiful place of the mountain. We used to go and watch the sunset every night, and especially have the New Year in, we'd have our glass of wine, and there was this beautiful mountain range, and we used to call it the hell because in the morning the mist would rise from it. It was absolutely spectacular. So we had a few of his friends and all the laborers that worked on the farm absolutely idolized him because he was so good. And like I said on my previous interviews and that, even as when we go on captures and that, none of us would eat until all the laborers, they had their meal, they had their tents up, they were looked after. And he always used to say, always look after the people that will look after you. And I've really adapted that throughout my life. And anyhow, so we had his funeral there, and the hearse arrived, and they said to me, "Would you like to see?" And I said, "Yeah, because it's not him." And my cousins and my aunt and uncle played a very crucial part in my life, especially after even my dad died. My mom had a twin sister who didn't have a daughter, so I was always like her. I worshipped her. She was just such a beautiful human being. And they were all there with me and they were like my support through all of this. Anyhow, and I got up and I looked into it and I saw him lying there and it wasn't him. It was just some empty, weird looking thing that slightly resembled him. So I think a bit of a haze, and we lost the farm. It was auctioned off. We then had to move off to the Eastern Transvaal. I was flying at the time. The end goal was for me to be a capture unit with my dad, and I would do the helicopter flying, and he would do the ground crew. And so suddenly now all our plans are gone. And my brother went into the army, and I was left. My mom really hit a huge slump, so I became literally the mother for my younger brother because he didn't know anything, and my mom.
I'm confused now. Did your dad and your stepdad die?
Yeah.
You were talking. So this whole thing was Pete, your stepdad.
Yeah, from Sabaka, the farm.
My
gosh. The previous one was when I was 9.
Oh my goodness!
So he had a cancer.
Right.
And
So
so
your
with
dad died
my
of
first
cancer, and
dad,
all
it
of
was
this
my
was your
biological brother,
stepdad.
which was Grant. Yeah.
So how
Yeah.
old were you when
And
Pete
anyhow,
died?
so I was 16, 17 when he died.
Oh my gosh.
So that
Okay.
was, I think that was probably a really an impressionable age, especially for a teenager. And I had to take more of the, my mom moved off. I was in the middle of my final exams, and we had to be off the farm. So I was literally in between exams. I was trying to find hotels and friends to stay with just to finish up my exams, because where we were moving was about 7 hours away. Anyhow, so we moved on to the Eastern into Natal, and I carried on my flying at a little flight school called Natal Flight Center. And it was just my mom, my brother, my younger brother, and myself. And my older brother was in university, sorry, in the army. And yeah, so then it was just, I think that's when I must have, I've got this incredible ability to sweep things under the carpet still today. When in doubt, when I'm stressed, it's okay, it's going to go away. It's okay, it's going to go away. We'll be okay, we'll be okay. And I then met my ex-husband at the flying school. So we were both doing our license at the time.
Okay.
And I think I was really taken aback by his family. He had this big family, and all the brothers were there, and his house was full, and his mom and dad were still there. And for me, that was foreign, like to see a normal home. And I just yearned for that. Anyhow, we got married, and I was very, very young. And I had my first child when I was 21, which was really young. And we moved to Mauritius, and I had my son as well. So I had my two children, and PJ would literally live with us most of the time. Every holiday he would come, my younger brother. And then my husband got a job with Emirates, and that's where we moved into Dubai in 2000. So that was a long time ago. Anyhow, and my I lost a little bit of touch with my older brother, which was quite sad. And only as we got older did we really touch base. And my younger brother then moved permanently with us to Dubai, and he shared a room with my younger son, and they were really close. And then my eldest brother, at the age of 32, I don't quite know, I don't think I'll know the whole story, but anyhow, my mum was visiting here in Dubai, and his wife called me and said, "I'm so sorry, Grant has just shot himself." I said, "What do you mean Grant has shot himself?" And she said, "Yes." So I got on a plane with my mum, and we literally jumped on, flew back to South Africa, and I was online trying to speak. Uh, my mum actually remarried for a third time in the interim, and I was now speaking to Toby, her husband, and asking what had happened. And he was moved to a hospital. And just prior to her coming, when we were living on the farm, one of the VIPs gave my mom a tiny little handgun, which is from Smith and Wesson factory, and as a gift to say thank you. And Grant actually went to her and said, Mom, it's crazy having a gun in the house. Why don't we sell it? So she said, okay. So she said, look, take it. And he said, and can I have the bullets? And she said, when she put it in his hand, she actually felt the blood drain from her. And she thought, something doesn't feel right. Now, her and Grant were so close, much closer than we were. And so she said that she woke up in the middle of the night, that next night, and she called him and she said, Grant, just promise me you're not going to do anything stupid. And our Grant was one of the most intelligent human beings ever, with such a sense of humor, but really, really, really bright. And he said, no, Mom, don't be crazy. I'm not going to do anything. So anyhow, when we've got this phone call, she said, oh my God, it's the gun that I gave him. So we rushed back. Eventually, we only got to the hospital at about 8 o'clock that night. And his wife was standing next to him, and she just kept on saying, I'm really sorry, I'm really sorry. And I couldn't understand anything. Anyhow, and he literally knew exactly where to shoot himself. And the doctor came to me and said, look, you need to make a decision. I would turn off all the machines, say goodbye, turn them off, because he's going to be completely brain dead if you keep them on. And I thought, oh my God, how can I make this decision? Anyhow, and I just my aunt was there, obviously, which my mom's twin sister, and she just said to me, just, it's the best thing for him, you can't imagine Grant, because he was very active as well, doing, living his life in a wheelchair. And I just said to my mom, look, I've made the decision, we have to switch off the machines. And she was very, she's such a strong woman. She's never showed her emotions as much. And she just said, okay. So anyhow, I called them, we all said goodbye, switched the machines off. And, that was, I think my life was in a lot of turmoil at the time. My marriage was really up and down. And of course, I didn't really cope with anything, as I should have at the time. And just get on with life. You've got kids, you've got a business, you're running, you're teaching, you're coaching. Just throw your life into your work. And then PJ then was moved to Abu Dhabi, and that's
Sorry
my
to
younger
interrupt.
brother.
Did you find out why Grant did what he did, or did he leave a note? Was there anything?
He didn't leave a note. I checked through his phone trying to see, he was in a huge amount of debt, but I think his wife said that she wanted to end the marriage, and my mom actually saw her about 3 months afterwards in the gym with somebody else. So I assume that she was maybe ending the marriage and he just didn't know how to cope with it. I think, when you suffer loss like we did, with my dad and my stepdad, you hang on to any kind of love that you can get. And I think he really adored her. So anyhow, PJ then moved to Abu Dhabi and he was working for a company there in 2454. But he was crazy. He was, again, so much like Pete, in his character, and he was loud and used to drive me absolutely crazy. But, he was like my best friend, and the kids as well. Both Jax, my eldest daughter, and JJ he was seen as one of the siblings. That's what he was like. And,
and
even my youngest
between you and PJ?
There was 8 years.
Okay.
So there wasn't a lot between them. And he would pick Jax up from school and have the music blaring in the car, and she'd be absolutely mortified. And, even the younger little one, Georgia, he would throw her around. And he was like my anchor. He was the only like hope and connection that I had with Pete. And, I'd see him every day and I'd say, okay, I can still see Pete living within him and that. So then afterwards, he just got an incredible job with Etihad. And he was going to be on board F&B manager in first class. So I thought that was like his ideal job. So he was meant to fly back to South Africa to go and change his visa and that. And I hadn't heard from him for about 2 days. And I knew he was flying, I think it was like on the weekend. And on Friday, I was going to church and I just sat down. I was waiting for the family to get ready and I was looking onto my Facebook and there was literally 40 messages on Facebook. Please call, please call, please call. And I looked at the first one and it was, I'm so sorry to hear. I'm so sorry. And I thought, what on earth is going on? And then one of his friends messaged, please urgently call me. And I called him and he said, I don't know how to tell you this, but PJ passed away. So hold on, what are you talking about? So he actually hung himself from his cupboard in Abu Dhabi. And again, whether it was an issue with with the girl that he was seeing at the time, I don't think he ever really meant to do it. I think he was really angry and hurt about it. And, that's what he did. So I had to call my mom and I had to tell my mom, and which was so hard. And then I had to go to Abu Dhabi literally about 6 or 7 times. I had to help clear out his stuff. I had to go and see him in the mortuary every day almost. They made me re-identify and identify. And that was just crazy. And then I had to get his body back to Dubai and to South Africa, which was literally mission impossible because the South African embassy were just the most unhelpful people on this earth. They said, why is he working here? He should have been in South Africa. And, and I said, they were cost charging me like 17,000 to get his body back. And I said, I don't have that. What am I supposed to do? No, just put him in the back of your car, take him to the Indian burial site, bury him, and then take the ashes back to South Africa. So,
they did not say
as
that.
I say, He did. Anyhow, eventually I had his briefcase and I was going through all the documents in his briefcase and I saw his contract from Etihad. And I saw the HR manager and I called her and I just said, look, this is what's happened. I'm so sorry. I know that he actually hadn't started, but is there any way you can help me? And she said, I'll call you back. And literally 2 hours later, she said, don't worry, we'll repatriate him. And like that was an absolute an
And he
answer
hadn't
to my
even started
prayers.
working
And
for them.
I think even at the time, how I could, no, no.
Wow.
He was due to work literally 2 weeks time from then on. Yeah. And I think, yeah, I still can't really explain how I managed, how I had the support of my kids and, I got divorced during that time and remarried and, again, just life was all over the show and I lost both my companies and I had to restart again. And that was now at the time with just after this is how Pirates was eventually formed. And, while dealing through all this grief, my aunt and uncle, who were my cousins, obviously parents, my mom's younger sister, and they really carried me through as a child. And shortly after that, I got a call that they were on holiday in South Africa, in Durban, and they just bought a beautiful little place in Scotland, and you have to cross over a train line. And just one afternoon, they were going to have their lunch, some calamari and that at this fish place. And as they went over this railway line, a train came and actually hit into them. And my mom was just calling her at the time, which must have happened 2 seconds after because someone picked up her phone and he just said, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. There was an accident and I see this phone and, there's two people in the car. My mom thought, that they had they been hijacked or whatever. Anyhow, so both of them passed away, which
Oh my God,
was
Candy, I
devastating.
can't. I because I don't want to, and obviously most of the listeners will understand, and we had a chat about this beforehand. It's not that I want to make light of this, but I don't think I've met anyone that's had more people die in their life than me. And I think you might have just beaten me. I
I
mean,
reckon I have. Yeah.
so
Yeah,
you and your
absolutely.
mum,
But
sorry to interrupt you because about the obviously now then these two more deaths, you were so close to your aunt, but all of the while I've got in the back of my mind that you said that you and your mum weren't overly close as a relationship. I mean, to suffer the amount of losses that you two did, has anything been rebuilt? Like, what on earth? How do you?
I thought that it would because I thought, okay, now I'm the only child left. Um, you know, maybe that bond will become stronger. But I think in some relationships, when there's too much damage done, and each one, like, we withdrew on our own to keep surviving. I had to keep going for my kids. They were, the reason why I was still breathing, and I just wanted them to be okay. And
Yeah.
I had nothing when I literally mean nothing. And at the time of all of this, we were on a bicycle. I lost my car. I was working 14 hours a day, every day, 7 days a week. I didn't have leave in like 3 years. And, that's when I started on Kite Beach. But, I think I kept on thinking that everything that I'd gone through, I'd gone through for a reason. And that I needed to use everything that they had taught me and the people that had left me had taught me. I needed to use that constructively. I could have literally completely withdrawn and done something stupid to myself because on my dad's side, my aunt committed suicide. I wasn't that close to her. And then my mom's twin sister, who was my anchor, she passed away of emphysema. And it was just, it doesn't become, because I think you develop, like, I'm paranoid about my kids, literally paranoid. When they go somewhere or they go in a taxi, they'll still tell you such funny stories of how they went to parties and their phone was in their bag and I tried to call them and they didn't answer. And, I literally wanted to get helicopters coming down to pick them up and check that they were okay. So you do develop a lot of, that constant, I live in fear, and that's probably one of my big things that I try every day. You can't live in fear. You've got to be happy. You've got to enjoy. But I think I made the conscious effort or decision to decide my reason for still being here, and the reason for me to keep going, is I want to give back. I need to give back. I need to help those around me. Even in Pirates, one of the little girls' father died, who was like a carbon copy of my dad, and they were my age. And I think I wouldn't have been able to understand and help them if I didn't go through what I'd gone through. I knew where they were. I still know where they are today. When they come to training, I can read their little faces, when they come. And we did, her dad was like mine. My dad loved Christmas. We had, and I still today, if I could have Santa Claus hanging from my chimney, I would do it. And he was very much like that. And we got a huge collection of all the Pirates parents who they are my family. And, they had like 200 presents, and we got Santa Claus to come, like the real Santa Claus. Seriously, Katie, this guy was the real deal. And he came, and we had snow. One of the parents has got a company that provides the snow, and he put snow in, and there was Santa, and they had all the gifts. And then that's how I think I heal internally, by saying, okay, I went through this so that I could empathize, that I could, as I say, we have to be positive, and we have to take those kind of things and say, let's use it constructively. So that's what I've done. And even still today, I pray every day that I earn millions, that I can give millions, because I love giving. I absolutely, I don't want to see people suffering. So I think that's my purpose. And I think that's why I've gone through what I have, so that I can, do that and help others. But there's no, I don't think there's a magic kind of, cure. This is how you should deal with grief. It affects everybody differently. And you might not grieve now, but you might grieve in, 10 years time, 20 years time, and there's still days that the pain doesn't go away. And I don't think it ever goes away, but you just learn how to deal with it. So, creating Pirates and meeting the kind of people that I have are phenomenal. That's building X Park Junior. That was Sabaka. If you actually looked at pictures today of Sabaka, this is what X Park Junior is. Besides, we don't have rhinos and buffaloes and giraffe in here. The thatched roofs, the natural play area. That's had my dad not died and my mum remarried to Pete, I would never have lived on the farm. Had I not lived on the farm and gone through that, I would never have created X Park Junior. Had the rapport I have with people and with my staff here, whether it's, the beach cleaners and the garbage collectors, I treat them as if they were my boss. There's no, I'm not some kind of, doesn't matter if I'm a manager, that doesn't matter. One day we're all going to be the same. Doesn't matter what we earned or what car we drove, or, my kids have been like that. I'm just so unmaterialistic. I don't care what shoe, even when we came here, it doesn't matter what shoe. We've had from nothing, eating McDonald's every day because that's all we could afford, to, years and years going by, slowly building up. And I do believe the more I put in, the more I will get out. And I have no doubt whatsoever that, Pirates is going to be global, without any doubt. I will, and I know, and I believe will be the biggest lifestyle brand in the world for kids. And not just anything, it's because I think we're really organic and authentic. And I know that, when we say companies, and I see them saying, oh, we're a family, we're this and that, but they're after money, they're after, it's not, we're living a passion. And, to create and see kids improve from all different kinds of, terrible backgrounds. And even with COVID, there's been so much loss and job loss. Grieving is job loss as well. Kids losing pets, that, oh my God, where it feels like someone's landed on your chest. You have when, you lose a job as a parent, you think, how the hell am I going to pay for rent? Me being, a single mom and, having supported my kids on my own for, 10 years is, I still hang on to my job for dear life, with extra buy. And I have an incredible boss who's so understanding. He's really backed me, and he's allowed me to do pirates. And even with creating this for Sheikh Hamdan, and I don't do anything for any kind of a pat on the back. I know that one day it will, and it does come back in different ways. So yeah, that's my story.
I honestly, I'm sitting here and I don't know whether if you're going to be listening to this on podcasts or if you're watching it on YouTube. I hope you are watching it, because I'm sitting here just beaming at you, Candy, just like telling this story, which is, I'm sure, the same kind of reaction you get from most people, because you touched on it before, in so much that you could have easily have gone in a very different direction. I mean, you suffered more loss and more trauma than most people I know. So for you to then harness that, for positive, and not even, this is going to sound a bit strange, not even people say to me I'm resilient, and how I've dealt with the losses in my life, but not only have you been resilient and decided, you know what, I'm going to make every day a good day, you've gone and some, and you're now out to improve other people's lives. And it's quite amazing. I wanted to ask you, in terms of, you lost your real dad when you were 9, you were 16 when you lost your stepdad Pete. How old
Yeah.
were you when Grant took his life?
I
Or what year
He
was
was
that, I would
32,
ask?
so I was 13. So I was 30 when he died.
30. And then how old were you when PJ?
32. So there
Right.
was 2 years between them.
And then your aunt, so there was an aunt and uncle in the train, and then your aunt whom you were
They
very
were
close
all
to.
between, Katie, I'll tell you something, and still it's the weirdest thing. I can't tell you what year it was when they died. I can't tell you what age. I know it was in the beginning. That's just all a blank. If people say, oh, and sometimes on Facebook, I'll have some of my brother's friends saying, thinking of you today. And I think, why? And I think, oh
Yeah.
my God, okay, this is the day that
Yeah.
I accept my real dad. That's, I know, because I remember it like really clearly. But the others, I think some way it's a coping mechanism that you don't remember anything, or you block it out of your minds.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
what I did.
And
But
but then
yeah, it was definitely in that age.
yeah, so if you've got, so 9 to 16, obviously super formative years, and then the ones came on later. Do you know, or have you any understanding of how you grieved differently between 9 and 16, and then obviously adult life, and then as a mum yourself?
I think at 9, you really and you really need a lot of love, um, affection, understanding. Um, when you're 16, again, I was really involved heavily in my sport at that time, and I threw myself into my sport. But I think again, in those, it's again your surroundings, it's the people that you still, that pain is the same whether you're 9, whether you're 16, or whether you're 32.
Yeah.
I don't think the pain is very different. You understand it more. And at 16, that shock was was actually more than what I probably, because it was an incident. Again, it's like, how and what the circumstances were. It With Pete, it was sudden, it was an accident.
Yeah.
With my dad, it was 6 weeks to, you don't prepare, because you always think, even the doctor actually didn't believe my mom when she called him and she said, Deegan is dying. He's in the room, he's dying. And he said, no, it's just from the medication. And she said, no, I'm telling you now, he is. And by the time he got there, he was dead already. And that was in our home, in between surgery. So again, I think, I could never really say the difference. You have to be a lot stronger when you're older, and you have to be stronger for the people around you, because, my kids, they are the most phenomenal people. My son is living in the States, and today he's, when I need something or I need reassurance, I lean on him. Jax is literally the rudder of the ship. She just 1, 2, 3, 4. I know she's going to take care of it. With Pirate, she does the business plans, all of that. Georgia is, she's like my little friend, where she's my companion, and she's the one that's just the surfer, and she's got so much energy and that about her. And again, they suffered grief in different ways. They didn't have much contact with their dad after we got divorced, and that was a really messy one. So we've all had to suffer and grieve in different kind of ways, and it's like we're a puzzle, which actually the puzzle fits perfectly together. Each one has got their strengths, each one has got their weaknesses, and it's definitely affected them in different ways, even from the loss of PJ and Grant were a huge loss to them. And Jax became bulimic, and she's still in recovery now, and it's 15 years later. JJ got married, but to the most incredible girl, absolutely lovely. I couldn't wish for anything more. Georgia, through circumstances, was didn't even get to finish school, and she did, and she turned her life around, and we, things happened that she could get to travel the world and surf, and
Wow.
she's now on her own, got herself into university, and studying, and she knows, and she's driven. And so again, I think it's each and every one of us can take these situations and these grievings and these horrible things, and you can really go down a very deep, dark road. And there are times where I thought, can I do it? Can I do it? And then you realize that as an adult, you need to pick up, you there for your kids. If I'm not here for my kids, that's like one of my biggest fears. I just want them to be okay. I don't care about me anymore. I just want to look after them and to protect them, whether they are newborn or whether they are, they're turning 28 and 29 next week. You still feel and panic as much for them, as you did now.
Yeah, I mean, so, it's a completely and utterly selfless love, isn't it? The love of a parent.
Yeah, absolutely. And they saw me working and I think a lot of that, my medicine at the time was the work I did. And, even on Kite Beach, I would just sit and I wanted to create an absolute haven for parents and families that they could come enjoy the weekends there. Everyone said, you can't put grass on the beach. I said, of course you can lay grass on the beach. And, I had the most beautiful greenest lawn ever. And I would sit there, and we didn't have irrigation at the time, and I would hand water it for 12 hours a day. And I'd see people and families coming to sit in the grass on a Friday, and I knew my kids were at home, but I looked at them and I thought, yes, that's what I want to see, the families together. I want them to enjoy it because, we've got all the glitz and glamour in the world just behind us. I want a place where parents can just come and relax and enjoy each other's company, and, where they don't have to pay a cent, and it's just in a special environment. So again, I think when I was grieving internally, that made me feel better, just to see, what we created for other people, that they could actually be happy and enjoy themselves. So, and as I say, even today, I am the luckiest human being on this earth to have the people and to have Pirates. They are, the parents are, and the kids are just phenomenal. They are, I love going to see them in every coaching session. It's just pure heaven, and creating. And every day we go back and we sit down and we say, right, what more can we do? What more opportunity? And the more we go, the more opportunities come to us for kids, where, we can create new opportunities and send them on trips and take them to places that other people haven't been. And, so again, that's what is my affirmations every day, that, the more you give, the more you will receive. And I will earn millions, and I will be able to give millions. I always wanted to have an orphanage with, loads of kids, and, and I think in a way I see that the Pirates is that, they're my kids, they're all my babies. I don't care if they go home to their own parents. Their welfare and their happiness is, one of my main concerns. So yes, I am very lucky to have that.
I'm going to need to know the age range for Pirates, Candy, because I think I need to join. I'm nearly 40. Is there a cap?
you know, our oldest student started with me when he was 9. And every year, and he's turning 21 next week. And every year he says, Candy, I think we need to extend the age range.
Yeah, I bet he does. I'm with him 100%, because even just sitting here and speaking to you now, and it's quite interesting, and I'm certainly not trying to make it all about me. It's my podcast. No, but it's people say it to me quite a lot in terms of energy and the energy I give off, and like I keep saying it, I'm sitting here absolutely beaming listening to your story, which is obviously weird to hear considering how much loss you've suffered. But I'm sitting here like I'm sitting really tall and my chest is open. I'm, filling my lungs because of like, it's quite amazing what you're doing. And if you're we've been speaking for what, 45 minutes. If you're able to project that kind of energy onto me through a screen, by the way, I can't even begin to imagine what you do for the pirates. Oh, hello there. I
Okay,
can't
it's
even
feeding
begin.
time for the animals.
Oh, feeding time. Yeah, I can't even begin to imagine what you do for those kids in pirates. So it's amazing, and I'm so grateful for you to tell your story. But I'm not going to let you go yet, because I did ask you for either an Instagram account or a podcast that you want to recommend. Like, what, clearly, I mean, you need your own podcast, but what kind of do you love, and what do you listen to or
You know,
like?
I got pretty hooked on Robin Sharma. I absolutely love him. I read the 5, and I think the 5 a.m. club was really great. In Mind Valley, I love listening to the Joe Rogan, and I like just inspirational stories. And Robin Sharma is just, I think, I just love the simplicity. I love his way of just the way he talks, the messages he passes through. Where he just he's and I tell the kids that as well. Little things he says, like, bleed more in sweat more in training, bleed less in war, and how that impacts, and just being the best you possibly can. So I've read his book, I listen to his podcasts, I go onto Mind Valley, of course, and listen to all of their, as I said, I love Joe Rogan as well. But I wish actually I did spend more time on listening to Jax. My eldest daughter she can really rattle off 30, 40 podcasts, and she is very learned in that kind of thing. So is JJ. And, I'm trying to do that and say, right, every day I do the 20-20-20, where I wake up at 5, I journal, I write my day ahead. Sorry, let me close the door.
Yeah.
I write what I'm planning for the day ahead. I then do my exercise, and I then plan for the day. So I know, okay, it's very structured. You need to be structured. I need to make sure. Sorry, the chickens are coming in now.
Oh my goodness, the chickens are coming in. I'm so excited. This is great. Hello.
Yeah, I know. This little one, honestly, is the kindest little thing ever. Really, she thinks she's a duck.
What's her name?
Yeah, she is so sweet. We haven't got her name yet. She was born from the incubator, and we try and make all the animals like really tame in the park. And again, it's great therapy for the kids as well, for them to get used to and to work with the animals. And sorry, that's a little bit off topic. But
it's not at all. It's great. And I love the fact she just launched herself off your shoulder, and who knows where she is now. So
she's behind. She's gone to see the ducks. Yeah. So again, I think it's so important. And I'm trying to read more and to just educate myself more into helping other people. And from Feng Shui, I read a little bit about that. And now I'm reading Shoe Dog, about the man who started Nike. How did he start it? And I see so much of what I've done, and scared to make that leap into putting everything into it, but knowing that's the only way that we will succeed is to let go of that fear that I always live in. So yeah, as I say, I think if I had to choose one person, it definitely would be Robin Sharma, without any doubt.
It's one of those things as well, and I'm sure this is the universe speaking to me, because my brother Russell, he's a recent convert to the 5 a.m. club, based on the book.
Awesome.
Yeah. and he's based here in Dubai as well. And it was like last week, a couple of people mentioned it to me, and it's so weird because the first thing that comes into my mind is absolutely not. I can't, I can't get up at 5 a.m. And then my brother will say, well, why not? This kind of thing. But it's really weird that I think you're now the fourth person that's mentioned it in maybe 2 weeks.
My eyes close automatically at 8:30. I can be in the most important conversation on this earth. I cannot keep awake since I was a kid. I honestly and truly struggle to keep awake. It's so embarrassing. And all the kids are like that. We'll sit on the sofa and we've got to make 8 o'clock. We've got to make 8 o'clock. But then at 5 o'clock, everyone's awake. And I can hear, G's up and Jax is listening on to her doing all her meditations and those kind of things. So you just get used to it. People are just morning people, but I love the morning. It's the most beautiful, peaceful time of day. And I love going out. And, on the farm, we had to get up early because obviously we went to go and do the rounds. We'd jump on the horses and go and check all the fences and feeding the animals. And, watching that sunrise is just the most special thing ever. I love it. And just the smell of the earth is just, it's my favorite. So yeah, I sadly won't be later at 8 o'clock. I don't think I've ever woken up at 8 o'clock, to be honest with you.
No, it is weird. I do get up a lot earlier. It is one of those things where, when you were younger, well, maybe obviously not for you, you're on a farm, but when you were younger and, my mum used to come in at the weekend, like, get out of bed, you've wasted half the day. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm going to stay here until midday. And obviously with age, you get up earlier and you know that you can achieve more when you get up earlier. And I am getting there. I mean, maybe 5 a.m. club is still a bit of a stretch for me, but I am getting there. And then certainly again, since the kind of first loss, which was my mum in 2010, is that not so much getting up to watch the sunrise, but I am grateful for every day because not this, I know you can go down the Carpe Diem route, but yeah, I am just grateful for every day because my God, do you just not know what's going to happen at all?
Absolutely. And I journal every day, and I have probably about 15 books that I've journaled in, and every single book will start the same way. I say, I'm thankful for. And I always imagined one day if I woke up and I just had the things that I was thankful for, it really makes me think that I live by that. And I write it down. It doesn't matter if I write the same thing down every single day. I do that. I'm thankful for, and I can write 2 pages of it, or 3 pages sometimes. And I always am even thankful for the wrong things that have happened. And there's a lot of stuff that I obviously wouldn't speak about, that the most terrifying things that, even being in Dubai, that I had to live through. And, I write that down and say, yes, I'm thankful for that. I learned a lesson from it. And yeah, so I think it's so important. And I tell the kids as well, even at Pirates, I tell them at the beginning of some sessions, look at your mom and dad and say, thank you. Thank you for bringing me down. Look at the sea. The sea's like glass. Aren't you lucky to have that? Aren't you thankful? Say thank you. I think those are the 2 most important words that I teach the kids, and I drum it into them every day, because, when someone smiles and says thank you, it doesn't matter who it's to, it makes that person feel so good, whether it is a cleaner or is a parent or whatever. It just, it makes such a difference. So yeah, journaling I think it's changed my life, that's for sure. It just ingrains it every day. Yes, you've got a roof over your head, you've got a job, you've got food on the table, you can support your kids, they need anything, you can help them. That's priceless. Because
and it's interesting today, you say that
through COVID.
Sorry, I interrupted you. Carry on.
No, go.
No, you were saying even through COVID, journaling.
Yeah, I think people have been into such horrible situations and lost jobs and family members and not being able to travel. And I haven't seen my mom either for a year and a half. That's just people are all fighting a battle. And we have a rule at Pirates where you have 3 strikes if kids are caught bullying. or they any kind of social media or leaving kids out or in anything, making fun of them with training, they get 3 warnings. And between the second and the third warning, I really work with them. But if it hasn't worked, by the third warning, they're asked to leave the club.
Really?
It's like a zero tolerance for bullying, whether no matter how it is. And even if it is on social media, and in school, if you see another kid or another pirate kid, go and help them, go and look after them, go and care for them. And I've only had to do that twice, but it's heartbreaking because I feel in a way that I've actually lost. I've lost a battle. I didn't manage to change a kid, but if it impacts so many other lives, it's important that I do look after the other 390 kids. And it's so imminent here in Dubai, that I think, regardless, that you've got so many different kinds of families and different backgrounds and, different religions and philosophies and income brackets. And, I've always said to the kids, when you're going to rescue someone, you do not care who's next to you, regardless of where they're from, what they look like, or anything like that. You need another pair of hands. You're going to need to work. So much teamwork is done, where I mix them up and put them in difficult situations, especially with the older group they're not getting on so well with, so that they can, realize that you need each other. To succeed, you need to work. And in later life, you can't choose your work, your work members, whether you're in a company or whatever. So it's important to be able to adjust and work together. So yeah, that 3-strike policy has definitely been, it's fantastic. It has worked and really successful.
Yeah, by the sounds of it. And what a fantastic kind of just learning for life at all. Candy, I was going to call you Candice, and you already told me it's what your mum says when she tells you off. So Candy, I need to say. Thank you so much. I'm aware that our connection, we had connection issues at the beginning, and now it's all of a sudden dropped off at the end. So we've managed to get it done, but I'm not going to tempt fate, and I'm going to end it right there. Thank you so much. And I'm not even going to warn you when I come down to the beach, and I'm just going to give you a big cuddle. I don't care about COVID, actually. So I'm double vaccinated, so you're going to get a big hug
Only
from
a
me.
pleasure. Me too. Only a pleasure. Thank you for having me, Katie. It's been an absolute pleasure. Lovely to talk to you.
Lovely to talk to you. I'm gonna put everything for Pirate Surf and how to get hold of Candy, and if you want to reach out to her, if you've been affected by anything that we've spoken about on the podcast, like Candy said, and like I say every single episode, I'm not an expert. Candy's not an expert. I can only try and help point you in the right direction. But if you want to reach out, and if you have been affected, please, please, please do. And if you also want to get the kids involved in Pirate Surf, please do that as well. Candy, thank you very much. I'll speak to you soon.
Thank you so much, Katie. Lots of love. Take care.
Lots of love.
Thank you. Bye-bye.